Whoa! Hey, welcome to the Bible for Not Dummies. Because if you're interested in what the Bible's all about, then you, my friend, are not a dummy. You may just be curious about the Bible, but if you're curious, it might be God tugging at your heart, because the Bible tells us that God wants everyone to know truth and to know Him. So I'm glad you've joined me for this series of videos where we're answering the question, so what's the Bible all about anyway? In the previous episode of the Bible for Not Dummies, we looked at what's in the Bible as well as how the Old and New Testaments came together into the collection of books that make up the Bible today. And now we're going to jump into the first book of the Bible, Genesis. The events recorded in Genesis span approximately 2,000 years of history and document the creation of the world, the creation of mankind, and establish the very foundation of the relationship between God and the rest of His creation. And most importantly, the book of Genesis establishes the relationship between God and man. And it's this story of creation that we're going to focus on in this episode, as well as the next episode of the Bible for Not Dummies. So the word Genesis itself means beginning or origin. And the book of Genesis provides us with a fairly detailed and well-ordered account of the origin of the universe. There are, however, a myriad of origin stories from around the world, and in this episode, I want to look at the Genesis creation account in the context of the many creation stories from other cultures and religious perspectives. And then in the next episode, we'll take a deeper look into the Genesis creation account itself.
So how many different creation stories are there?
That's an interesting question. One of the more well-known ancient creation myths comes from the Mesopotamian region, and it's known as the Enuma Elish. This tells the story of a god called Apsu and his wife Tiamat. Apsu and Tiamat were the oldest of the gods, but subsequent generations of younger gods killed Apsu in a struggle for power. Tiamat gathered up forces for her own retaliation, but was killed by Marduk, a younger god who was chosen to oppose her. Marduk then used Tiamat's corpse to lay out the universe and then created humanity from the blood of Tiamat's second husband, Kingu. Another story from Greek creation mythology tells us of Nyx, a black-winged bird who came out of the infinite space known as chaos. Nyx laid a golden egg and then sat on it for many ages, and when it finally hatched, the god of love Eros came out. And half of the egg shell became the earth, while the other half became the sky. And the earth became known as Gaia, and the sky became known as Uranus. Eros made Gaia and Uranus fall in love, and through subsequent generations, Zeus was born. And after a series of battles and struggles, Zeus created Mount Olympus and brought order to the world. After multiple attempts to create people, he finally came up with a version that he was satisfied with. However, to keep mankind in check and not become too powerful, Zeus created womankind, and the first woman's name was Pandora. You may already know the rest of this story, but Zeus gave Pandora a beautiful box as a gift. And when she opened it, out came all the evils of the world: lust, suffering, hunger, thirst, jealousy, mistrust, lies, envy, disease, and plagues. And this was Pandora's box. The only good thing that Zeus put in the box was hope, which was the one thing that kept the human race from being extinguished by its own despair. I'm pretty sure it would be difficult to find anyone today who still believes in the Mesopotamian or Greek creation stories anymore.
So what about the creation stories from other religions that are still practiced today?
Well, the primary world religions, besides Christianity, are Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Judaism. And the account of creation between Christianity and Judaism is pretty much the same, as they both share the Old Testament books of the Bible in common. As was discussed in the first episode of the Bible for Not Dummies, the first 5 books of the Bible, which include the book of Genesis, are known as the Torah in Judaism. So Judaism and Christianity share the same biblical creation story. The next most closely related account of creation to the biblical account would be found in the Quran. And this is not surprising, since the Quran shares many of the same people and events that are found in the Bible. However, these common points tend to diverge as the stories unfold. As for the Quranic creation story, though, It does parallel the biblical account in a number of ways. However, the Quran's creation account has to be pieced together from surah or verses throughout the texts. There's no comprehensive account of the creation found in the Quran, as we have in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and 2. If we look at the Hindu creation story, we shift back to a pantheistic story, meaning that there's a collaborative effort of multiple gods involved in the work of creation. The Hindu creation account, as found in the earliest Vedas or Hindu texts, is somewhat vague, so further details are revealed in subsequent Vedas and other ancient Hindu texts known as the Puranas. In one thread of the Hindu creation thought, the deity Krishna, who's an incarnation of the god Vishnu, is found reclining asleep in the coil of a snake on a vast ocean at the edge of nothingness. And when Vishnu awoke, a lotus plant grew up out of his navel, and on the lotus plant was Brahma. And Vishnu told Brahma to create the world, so he created the world and everything in it. Brahma is the creator and Vishnu is the protector, and then one day the god Shiva will appear to destroy it all so that all of creation can be recreated again. Finally, we have Buddhism and Sikhism. Buddhists don't believe in a god or a supreme being of any kind, and therefore have no creation story or explanation for the existence of the universe. They simply don't ask the question. Sikhs believe in the Vaheguru, who existed before creation, but the only information regarding creation found in the Sikhs' holy text, which is known as the Shri Guru Granth Sahib, is that the universe simply exists because of the will of God. So, having taken this brief tour of the world's most well-known ancient creation myths as well as creation stories from other currently practiced religious traditions, let's now turn our focus to the biblical account of creation as found in Genesis chapter 1.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said,
"Let there be light."
And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the first day. Then God said,
"Let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth."
And that is what happened. God made the space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. God called the space sky. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the second day. Then God said,
"Let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place, so dry ground may appear."
And that is what happened. God called the dry ground land, and the waters seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said,
"Let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed-bearing plant, and trees that grow seed-bearing fruit. These seeds will then produce the kinds of plants and trees from which they came."
And that is what happened. The land produced vegetation, all sorts of seed-bearing plants and trees with seed-bearing fruit. Their seeds produced plants and trees of the same kind, and God saw that it was good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the third day. Then God said,
"Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. Let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth."
And that is what happened. God made two great lights, the larger one to govern the day, and the smaller one to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the sky to light the earth, to govern the day and night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the fourth day. Then God said,
"Let the waters swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind."
So God created the sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying,
Be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth.
And evening passed, and morning came, marking the 5th day. Then God said,
Let the earth produce every sort of animal, each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and wild animals.
And that is what happened. God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock, and small animals, each able to produce offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said,
Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground.
So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. Then God blessed them and said,
Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it, reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground.
Then God said,
Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth, and all the fruit trees for your food. And I have given every green plant as food for all the wild animals, the birds of the sky, and the small animals that scurry along the ground, everything that has life.
and that is what happened. Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the 6th day. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. On the 7th day God had finished his work of creation, so he rested from all his work. And God blessed the 7th day, and declared it holy, because it was the day when he rested from all his work of creation. This is the account of the creation of the heavens and the earth.
As this account of creation ends in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 3, the rest of chapter 2 goes on to give another account of creation. Some believe that there is a contradiction in the order of events as described in these two creation narratives, but this isn't actually the case. I'll discuss that more in a Bible for Not Dummies side notes episode. If you'd like to see that, I've provided a link in the video description below. So it's pretty clear that there's differences between the biblical account of creation and the creation stories as told in ancient mythologies and other current world religions. From a literary standpoint, the book of Genesis is considered to be a historical work. It was never meant to be a scientific textbook on how universes are created or how life came to be, but it does follow a logical order. First, the heavens and the earth were created. Then the water separated and dry land appeared. This was followed by vegetation and animals and finally man. And all of this came about by the will of an intelligent designer. It's very different from the stories of gods battling each other for power, avenging themselves when wronged, and the universe spawning from a broken egg or from dead bodies of slain gods. And not only does the Genesis creation account provide us with a detailed order of how creation took place, but it also provides us with a sense of intimacy between the Creator and his creation, an intimacy that sets it apart in the story of who God is and how we came to be. So there you have it, a brief overview of creation stories from various religious traditions as well as the biblical creation account from Genesis 1. I hope you'll join me for the next episode where we'll dive deeper into the Genesis creation account itself. So until next time, thank you for joining me on The Bible for Not Dummies.